What's up, everybody? I'm Matt Gary, and in this episode of Coding with the Force, we're going to talk about data dictionaries. We'll find out what they are, why they're useful, when to use them, and most important, we'll go over some easy ways to generate data dictionaries for your Salesforce org. All right, everybody. Today we are going to go over data dictionaries. We'll figure out what they are, why they're useful, when to use them, and most important, we'll figure out some easy ways to generate data dictionaries for Salesforce. We'll even generate one together that is entirely free thanks to the many open source authors out there in our ecosystem, which is great. But before we get into the wonderful world of data dictionaries, make sure if you actually enjoy this video to like it, because when you do, it helps this video get out to more people just like you that want to learn about this stuff for free too. So enjoy the video, like it, and now let's get back to data dictionaries. So first things first, what is a data dictionary? Basically, a data dictionary is a way to see what all the different objects are in your system, or the tables are in your system, the fields in those tables, validation rules, what they're used for, how they're connected, all that kind of stuff, right? It's an easier way to go look at, how everything is interconnected and what the purposes of each object and the fields on that object and the validations on that validation rules on that object, are there for, right? When we're in Salesforce, we already have a pretty nice UI that will show us, our account table, and if we click into it, we can see all of our fields and our field names and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of hard to just look at everything at a glance. Even if I click on the account object and I want to figure out what all these fields are for, there's no easy way to know that, right? I don't see my field descriptions here or anything like that. I can find my field dependencies, but long story short, this just takes a lot of time. And we want an easy way for not only ourselves, but potentially people outside of our Salesforce org and people who are not as familiar with our Salesforce org to be able to, figure that stuff out for themselves in a really, really easy manner. So that's kind of where data dictionaries come in, along with entity relationship diagrams, which we're not really going to go over. Some people will argue they're kind of the same thing or they're interconnected. I kind of think they're a bit separate. But anyway, that's kind of what they're for. Data dictionaries are an easy way to show your objects and what all the fields and all the stuff in those objects or those tables are used for. So now we know what they are, why they're useful. When would you actually need a data dictionary? That's the other question. A lot of people out there maybe have never heard of a data dictionary, have never needed to use a data dictionary, but there are plenty of reasons for data dictionaries to exist. The first and the most obvious one is, you as the developer or the architect might know your Salesforce org really, 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 really well, and that's great. But what happens if you get hit by a bus and the next day you're not around? Well, data dictionaries help make the transition for somebody who's not super used to an org easier, right? They can at a glance kind of figure out, all right, this is the schema for my Salesforce org. These are the tables or the objects. These are the fields in those tables. These are how the tables are connected, etc., right? These make that really easy for another person who's not familiar with your org, who's either coming in brand new or looking at it for another reason, easier. Along those lines, you may have one of several situations that would make or warrant a data dictionary and make potentially that situation you found yourself in easier for both you and the other group that's involved. For instance, you might have a Salesforce org right now that just has one application team in it. Maybe your Salesforce org is focused all around a marketing team or a marketing app. Well, what happens when you have your sales team come in and they build their own app, and they have, they have to have customization on the account object and the contact object and all that kind of stuff? Well, if it's truly a whole additional team that's coming in, it might be useful to take a look at what already exists in Salesforce really quick and easy so that we don't accidentally make more fields or whatever else. The other thing is, normally when you take an outside team like a sales team and you start to bring them into an already kind of established Salesforce org, they've already got an established app somewhere else, an older app that they're trying to convert into Salesforce. And so having that data dictionary of your Salesforce org will make it easier for them to go say, okay, well, we're just going to take data from our old database, from our old application, and map it to this field. Or they'll have to say, okay, well, there's not a field to store this data. We need to make a new field so that we can map this data into the your Salesforce org. So that's one reason. You might have a different application or a different team within your business that's coming into Salesforce that's taking a legacy application and trying to convert it. Or you could also be in a situation where your company has acquired another company and that company needs to move all of its stuff into Salesforce. Another very similar situation where data dictionaries would become very useful in data mapping from their old systems into yours or whatever else. The third one is, I think I'm on the third one, or the last one, whatever number I'm on, doesn't really matter, is sometimes data dictionaries can be really useful for integrations. You're trying to integrate from Salesforce to, some other database out there in the wide world of potential databases you could get yourself into. And it may make it easier for you or that other team that you're trying to integrate with to figure out where to map data in that integration. Or potentially you've got a middleware team and you just need to give that data dictionary to the middleware team. Either way, data dictionaries come in handy when you're trying to give somebody with very little insight into your org a way to start mapping data or just getting familiar with it in general, figuring out where data lives, where it, how it's all connected, all that kind of stuff. So those are some scenarios where it's very useful to have a data dictionary and why you might want to have one around, right? Okay, so the next thing that I want to go over is are the options that we have available to us to generate data dictionaries. And I'm going to go over the, paid things first, because if you want to use them, they are considerably more robust tools, but they do cost money, whereas the stuff I'm going to show you in just a minute is totally free and will do a pretty good job. They're not as wonderful as the paid ones, but you don't always really need a good deal of the stuff that these fancy paid tools, have out there for you. So let's go over them. The first paid tool that you could use if you wanted to generate a data dictionary is Speckit. I believe that's how it's pronounced, so I'm just going to assume Speckit is it. And it basically allows you to set up something that will basically automatically document your Salesforce metadata and the processes and all that kind of stuff really easily. This is a tool that, quite frankly, I think most of the time is a little bit of overkill for what you normally need this for. But you might have a really, really, really big org with a lot of stuff going on, and in that case, this tool is pretty useful. I'm not going to go over everything about this tool. because as you can see, you've got to schedule a demo and figure out the pricing and all that kind of stuff. But if you've got a bigger org, this might come in handy, maybe, if you got a lot going on with it constantly. It's a pretty cool tool. It'll keep all of your data dictionary and stuff up to date. You can also put stuff into the into your Salesforce org through the Spec It plugin that it has that will allow you to kind of like pop up and show new users what different things are and where to, how to use stuff in your Salesforce org. It's a cool tool, but like I said, probably a little bit of overkill most of the time. The next one is elements.cloud, which is pretty cool. It, like it says, is a powerful metadata dictionary, which is essentially a data dictionary and not just an out-of-date spreadsheet. What I'm going to show you is how to generate one of these out-of-date spreadsheets that they're talking about. But this, again, like it says, it's one of the more fancy tools. You do have to pay for it. You do have to book a demo, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But it keeps all of your metadata and your data dictionary stuff up to date. It is pretty cool. But again, I think most of the time, this is overkill. So if you want to do this, if you have a bigger org, or you have an org that's just really tough to figure out because you're brand new to it, or you're trying to convert it or whatever, this might be useful. But again, I think it's a little bit much for most of the time. Not all the time, but in my opinion, most of the time. The other thing is this tool called Soft Builder, or it's called ER Builder for Salesforce. This is actually a pretty cool tool. I've used this before. I don't believe that it has the capabilities to just keep your data dictionary up to date constantly. But there is a really, really easy way in ER Builder to generate a data dictionary and export it to several different file types. Very useful tool in general, ER Builder. If you want to build, automatically create entity relationship diagrams, and quite frankly, it's just a loaded application that I'm not going to get into absolutely everything about. But very useful. You can do searching on the data dictionary, filtering, all that kind of stuff. Super useful. And you can actually download this one for free and have a month-long trial, I think. So if you want to go this route, you could. Know that on the long run, it's paid, but very useful tool to generate a data dictionary. Now, we're going to go over how to generate a data dictionary the free way, and we're actually going to generate one together. So we'll figure out how to do that. So let's get to it. All right. So first things first, let's go over our 2 available open source options. Actually, there are more out there, but these are the 2 that I would personally suggest. And then I'm going to show you how to use one of them to generate a data dictionary for free. That's pretty good, especially for being free. So the first one is this SFDC Generate Data Dictionary. This is probably the most popular one that I've found in GitHub, and to be fair, it is a very capable tool that can generate a data dictionary for you in Salesforce with not a lot of effort. Now, the downside to this tool, and the reason that this is not the one that I'm going to be demoing to you today, is that it works in Unix-like systems, but Windows is not tested. And I know a great deal of us, or a great deal of people use Windows machines, and I will say I have gotten this to work on a Windows machine, but it does occasionally have issues for some reason. And why? I'm not particularly sure, but every once in a while I have had issues with this one on a Windows machine. I haven't had issues with it on other machine types, but Windows, I've had it fail on me a couple times. The other thing is, when I use this in Windows, I use Git Bash, which does take a little bit of extra effort to set up. That allows you to essentially use a Unix-like command line. and I don't want to make this too complicated for everyone. But if you do want a more robust option, this one has it does have the ability to generate a data dictionary, and it gives you a few more options. The other one I'm not going to show you does. So this one has the ability to generate an ERD file for a lucid chart, and a couple of other things like deleting and cleaning up temp folders and some other things along those lines. So it's got a couple more features, but for the most part, these are very similar things. And I want to show you the easier one, at least in my opinion, that actually is an extension for the Salesforce CLI. So let's get over to it. So the next one that's free and I've used and is a very reliable data dictionary generator that's, again, totally free, is this one called Data Diction. I think it could have had a better name. Personally, it's an abbreviation that isn't so great, but it stands for Data Dictionary Generator, and I totally get it. Also, if we scroll down here, we can see that this plugin was written based on the data model generator by @Givignon, which is this thing. So this is basically something that is mimicking virtually everything about this plugin, with a couple things being left out. So they're very similar, and this one is easier to use and can be used on all platforms: Windows, Apple, Linux, whatever. So that's why I am showing it to you here today. So let's figure out how to actually install this thing. The first thing that you're gonna need to do to be able to install and run this totally free data dictionary generator for Salesforce is the Salesforce CLI. Hopefully you all already have the Salesforce CLI, but if you don't, I'll put a link in the description so that you can download it and check it out. It is something that's been around for quite a while now in Salesforce. It's extraordinarily useful, and when you couple it with all the plugins that are out there, it makes it even more important that you get familiar with the Salesforce CLI and learn how to leverage it. Very, very useful thing. So go on ahead and download it. We will need it to be able to do what we're about to do here in just a moment. The other thing is, I'm fairly certain that the Salesforce CLI actually installs NPM for you, or Node Package Manager, but it has been a while since I've done it, and I'm not going to run you through the installations of these things. They're very easy to install, so just click the download button and go through the normal install. But in the off chance that it doesn't, and I'm remembering that incorrect, make sure to also install NPM or Node Package Manager. Very easy to install, very easy to set up. I'm not going to go over how to install this either. If you really need that, there are other videos out there in the world that will show you how to install Node Package Manager, but it's very simple and very quick. So once you've installed the Salesforce CLI and Node Package Manager, then we'll figure out how to run this Salesforce Data Dictionary Generator. And to do so, you have two options on Windows anyway. You can use the command prompt if you want to, or you can use PowerShell, which in my opinion is a better choice. I just like PowerShell more. It has a little bit more capabilities than command prompt does. So, but either one will get it done. So once you have the one that you want to use, make sure to right click on it and do Run as Administrator. This will, save you at least a little bit of time and make the commands that you run a little bit less complicated. So assuming you can run it as an administrator on your machine, go on ahead and do so. Once you've opened this up, we are going to run the following command. We'll say npm install sfdx data dicgen. Okay, and then we'll hit enter as soon as you've got that typed in there, and it's just going to go on ahead and install this plugin for you for the Salesforce CLI. Now I've already installed this, so it's not going to ask me whether or not I'm okay installing it, because it just knows it's already here. Maybe you want to upgrade it, and that's what it's attempting to do. But if you haven't already installed this, it's going to ask you a yes/no question. Do you want to install this? Are you sure it's okay? And just hit yes to install it. If you are comfortable with it, that is. I mean, that's up to you, I guess. All right, so now it's installed. So now we need to figure out how do we actually generate a data dictionary from the command line here. And it's pretty quick and easy. We've got a couple of examples down here that the author of this library has so graciously put together. And we're just going to run one of them together. We'll say sfdx data dictionary, colon generate, and then oh, you know, I forgot. I'm a little bit ahead of myself here. The first thing that we actually need to do is log in to a Salesforce org via the Salesforce CLI and register it as a dev hub for the Salesforce CLI. So let's start there. If you've never used the Salesforce CLI, this is probably brand new to you. If you use it all the time, this is like no big deal. But I'm going to show you how to very easily set up a dev hub for the Salesforce CLI so that we can use it with this data dictionary generator. So all you're going to have to do to set up what is referred to as a dev hub is you'll run this command sfdx force auth web login, I believe, and then we'll do -a. This -a is a shorthand for alias, so we're going to give this dev hub a name or an alias, and we'll call it CWTF, or Coding with the Force. Actually, I'll probably have to name this Coding with the Force too, because I've already got one. And if you want to make this your default dev hub org, which it does not matter, you can or you can't, it's up to you. It doesn't matter for what we're about to do. Then you can put -d there. And what this will do is it'll open up a browser window, hopefully, and it did. That will allow you to log into Salesforce. And I'm just going to go on ahead and log into Salesforce here. And what that will allow me to do now is if I go back over here to PowerShell, it says that it's successfully authorized my org, which is great. So now we have our org registered as a dev hub, and now we can use our data dictionary generator to generate a data dictionary for that org. So let's do that. We're going to run the following command, sfdx data dictionary generate, like so. And then we'll say -u for username, and we'll put in the name of the dev org that we just set up. In my case, that's CWTF2, just like up here. And then we will, this is going to automatically pull all of your custom objects. But if you want more standard objects than what it does by default, which by default this command line tool, this data dictionary generator, it'll pull your account, contact, and user object. Let's say we also wanted the case object. You could put that in there. And then you can do a comma, and maybe you want product or something like that. You can keep adding them as comma delimited options there. And then we can also tell it where we would like to output things. I believe that's -o, but let me check. Yep, -o. And I can just give it a path, and I will go to my desktop. I've got a folder here in my desktop. See if I can place it in that folder, like so. And that's it. And then you can just hit enter and it'll run. Now you have some other options too if you wanted to use them. If you want to include managed packages, you can by just doing this -m true. So I could also do -m and say true or false. By default, it's false. And you have the option to choose your API version you want to use, have this output as a JSON object instead of an Excel document, and then you have the ability to output logs if you'd like to, just in case this fails or has some problems. But outside of that, we're really done, and I'm just going to hit enter, and it is going to do its thing. Now, this could take a while. I think for my org, it probably won't. There we go. But, you know, we'll see. So the object product 2 does not see, it doesn't exist in this org. Yeah, I don't think I've set up product 2 in my org that I use for you guys. So I'm just going to take that off. You can see it's got nice error messages as well, which is great. And slowly but surely, it does its job. That was pretty quick. That said, I don't have a lot in my org, but it was pretty quick. Let me go see if I can find this thing. And I have found it. As you can see, I'm just gonna remove an object from here. And you can see it has pulled all of the stuff from my org. I don't have a lot of stuff from my org, so there's not a lot to see here. But it pulled, for the account object, all of the fields. If I had descriptions and help text in here, it would place those in here too. Tells you their API name, the type, the values for pick lists, or the formula if it's a formula field. And if I had validation rules, oh, I do, then it places those near the bottom as well. And now you can easily go through your different objects and learn what each one of them does, and you know, kind of learn a bit about how they're connected and all that kind of stuff. So really easy, really fast, really simple to put this together, and it's beneficial for you know, other people outside of yourself. Also, this just goes to show how important descriptions are for your fields as well. I constantly try to enforce field descriptions, and in many orgs I see that they are not there. Make sure you put descriptions for your fields. Otherwise, your data dictionaries that you generate probably aren't going to be incredibly useful, although they still will be useful. It's just more useful if you've got that description so you know why the field was created, what it's used for, etc. Right? So, totally free, pretty useful, pretty quick tool that outputs a really nice setup for you. And with that, I think we're done talking about data dictionaries. There are plenty of other options out there for you that are more robust than what I'm showing you here. But these are a handful of good options, and a couple of free options that you know, will get things done for you really quick. So that's it, guys. I hope it was useful, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.